I think the one thing I'd like for you to take away from anything that I say today is this one point, that nothing in this world works the way you think it does. Nothing. The police aren't who you think they are. The sheriff is not who you think he is. Banks do not do what you think they do. Governments don't operate anywhere near the way you think they do. And that's why today, when you look at what's going on in the world today, none of it makes any sense. It's all crazy. It makes no sense at all. Seems very destructive. But actually, in point of fact, you don't know how the system works. It's working perfectly fine. The rich get richer and the poor get poorer. And the people, the masses, are entertained with television and alcohol and drugs, and the wealthy continue to get wealthy. And so it's working perfectly fine once you understand how the world really works. And nothing works the way you think it does. I also, in the early 80s, very early 80s, came into contact with some people who were experts on government banking. And I was in their company for many years. And I learned how governments work, and it was absolutely astounding to me to see the real truth. It's taken me 48 years to get here tonight, but I'm going to give you a secret that I've learned. I'm going to give this to you for free. This is a secret, and it's a very powerful secret. People will always, financially and in every other way, people will always support what they want to hear. They will not support what they don't want to hear. If you like country music, you're not going to pay $30 for a rap concert. If you like a particular movie star, you're not going to go see somebody else. People will always, if you like a particular kind of food, you're not going to the opposite restaurant. So people will always support what they want to hear. But when you begin to break down how government works, banks work, you begin to see a whole world that you've never known. The word I use is occult. Occult simply means hidden. And this is exactly what is going on in the world today. Our governments, banks, institutions of education, etc., are operating on a totally occult or hidden basis. And so what we are told and given to understand is not the truth. Let me give you an example. How many people have heard me lecture or talk about the maritime system of commerce? Okay, so most people at least have heard about the subject. For those of you who haven't, I'll just give you some examples. When you go into court, why do you have to go to court? You play tennis on a court. You play basketball on a court. The whole idea in a court is to put the ball back in the other guy's court. So you have a team of lawyers, and they throw the ball back in the other guy's court, and that team throws the ball back in the other guy's court, and the judge is a referee. And he doesn't care who wins or loses. He's going to get paid anyway. So even in the ancient Bibles, the old Bibles from the 12th, 13th, and 14th century, in the Bible, it didn't say King David. It kept talking about King Druid. And incidentally, the system of government and laws that we live under today in America and in the Western world is a Druidic system. America is a Druidic country. Canada is Druidic. Like I said, Western civilization is a Druidic establishment. The Druids were a very powerful priesthood in Europe, even before the Roman Empire existed. And they were the attorneys, the lawyers, the religious leaders, the politicians. It was called the Druidic system. And one of the most important symbols in the Druidic system was a magic wand, like Merlin the magician with his magic wand. And orchestra leaders and conductors use a magic wand. That's a Druid symbol. And the Druid symbol of the magic wand was made out of the wood of a holly tree. It's made out of Hollywood. And the entire establishment in Hollywood is a Druidic system. So if you don't understand Druidic symbols, you'll never know what's going on in Hollywood and where they're being financed, who's financing them, and how this stuff really works in relation to government. There's an enormous amount of material out on the web showing pictures from motion pictures from 5, 6, 7 years before 2000, before 9/11, in which 9/11 is in motion pictures. And the original film of Matrix, in the original Matrix movie, the star is giving some kind of an affidavit to sign, which is his identification or something. And the camera zooms in on it for just a moment when he's signing it. But if you stop the film, stop it and back it up and zoom in, you will see the document is about something that is going to happen. It says September 11, 2001. And this was way before September 11, before 9/11. Chris Carter, classic example when I'm talking about Hollywood. Chris Carter, the creator of X-Files. When X-Files ended, Chris Carter, the producer, started a whole new television series called The Lone Gunman. And the very first movie was a lead-off movie for the new television series. And in that movie, that came out right around February or March of 2001. February or March of 2001, Chris Carter's new television show called Lone Gunman was started on Fox television. And in the very first episode, it's talking about how factions within the U.S. government were going to fly 757s into the World Trade Center and knock them down purposely. And in the movie, you're seeing the planes going into the World Trade Center. That was back in, 8 months before it even happened. Chris Carter is telling you something in the movie. And in the movie, they asked, well, why are these people in the government doing it? And one of the guys in government said, because we need to control the Middle East, we need to control the oil flow, we need to have a dominant place in the Middle East so that we can promote wars, which is good for business. And but that's in a movie, and it shows the planes going into the World Trade Center. General Electric, about 3 or 4 years before 9/11, General Electric came out with a refrigerator in Italy. And on the face of the refrigerator, painted, were 2 jets flying into the World Trade Center. Shows the World Trade Center and 2 big planes flying into them. And I have many, many pictures from Hollywood showing 9/11 jets flying into the World Trade Center. So all I'm saying is that Hollywood knows what's going on. And this whole thing is being orchestrated from behind the scenes to knock down the World Trade Center. Well aware of how governments work, religions work, and banks. And well, let me give you an example. There are only 2 things on the earth, land and water. People live on land. So the law of the land is the law of people who live on land. That's why it's called the law of the land. But the law of the land is different in every country because it's the law of the people who live on the land. But you can do things in Russia you can't do in America. You can do things in South Africa, but you can't do in China. So the law of the land is different in every country. But the law of water is the law of money, the cash flow, the liquid asset. And I'll give you an example of how this works. Because when a ship pulls into harbor, it's coming in on water. And it's going to bring products. And so all ships, by law, must be female. This is why you will always hear captains saying that she is a good ship. She is seaworthy, she. Because all ships are female. And the reason why is because she produces the product. And when a ship pulls into harbor, it parks at the dock. And each piece coming off the ship has to have a certificate of manifest. And the ship where it sits is in its berth. So when you were born, you came out of your mother's water. So you have to have a birth certificate. and it's signed by the doc. And if you drop the car or the television, it's a stillborn, so you have to have a death certificate. So your body, as a matter of fact, your body is a security on the New York Stock Exchange. If you take your Social Security card, and I'm not going to talk much more about this because there are other things I want to talk about, but this I think is interesting. If you take your Social Security card, and on the back of a Social Security card, you will see a series of numbers. And those numbers on mine are in red. And those numbers on the back of the Social Security card represent your physical body on the stock exchange in New York. And if you take a bill, any kind of an American bill, whatever it is, 10, 20, 100, 1, whatever it is, you will see a series of numbers here, code numbers on the bill. You match the numbers on the bill with the back of the Social Security card. It's because there's about $6.5 million or more circulating around the world with your Social Security number on the bill, because your body is a security on the New York Stock Exchange. They are buying and selling your personal body on the stock exchange in New York. And most people don't understand any of this and have no idea what I'm talking about, but it's the way banks work. And so I have discovered also that banks and government are basically based on religion. Religion is at the bottom of all of this. This is why I have no respect. I have a respect, a reasonable respect for law and order. I'm not so stupid as not to understand the need for red lights and the things which are required in law for people to live together. But I have no respect for religion, government, banking, and especially educational institutions, because I know who finances these organizations.